Hey everyone, welcome to episode 8 of the Real Deal Fishing Podcast. I'm Kevin,
And I'm Mike.
and tonight in this episode, we're going to talk about how to fish in a desert. How do you fish in a desert, Mike? I mean, are there fish in a desert? Isn't it just desert in the term desert supposed to mean no water?
Yeah, I thought that desert was like the lack of water. I thought that was like part of the definition, and I guess it's not.
I guess
And we're
not.
going to talk about it.
Yeah, we're going to talk about it tonight. Before we get started, I just want to remind everybody that if you want to support the Real Deal Fishing Podcast, if you want to support Palmetto Cats, help me and Mike upgrade equipment and to buy bandwidth and all the things that go into making a podcast, check out the link in the description, shoppalmettocats.com, and get you some merchandise. Go on there and check out all the events we got coming up and check out the community calendar as well. All right, so why are we talking about desert? Well, I had the opportunity to go out to New Mexico this past weekend to fish with none other than Kris Flores of Muddy River Catfishing for my birthday. And there's the shirt right there. I didn't wear mine. I don't think mine fits me anymore. But it was a surreal opportunity. Kris and I had talked a couple months ago. I wasn't even. It was this like happened in like a month. But he said, "Hey, why don't you come out here?" And I was like, "Okay." And we found some cheap tickets, and we're able to go out. And I kind of hid it from everybody because I didn't really want, a bunch of attention on it, just in case something didn't work out. And ended up everything pretty much worked out, and we're going to talk about that trip tonight. Mike, what did you think when I told you I was going out to New Mexico? I did tell Mike.
Well, you told me, and then in classic Mike Murillo fashion, I forgot. And you had mentioned last week, I know what we're talking about next week on the podcast. And I'm like, what? So I totally let it slip my mind, but also too, I knew that you wanted to just see how it went and then talk about it afterwards. And to be quite honest, this podcast had been going through my mind since we ended the last one
Mm,
because I don't even know what it takes to prepare yourself to be in that much different of a fishing environment. So I am ready to listen. I'm ready to see what it takes. And
mhm.
Kristen had even asked me too. She's just like, "Hey, did they ask you to go?" I'm like, "Heck no!" I was like, "I don't know what it takes to fish out there." I was like, "It's hot, probably too hot for me." So I'm ready. I'm ready to talk
So
about it.
basically, I just got on the internet and Googled plane tickets to New Mexico, and I found some round trip for like $280, which is a steal. I did end up upgrading seats after I, got on the first plane. It was like, yeah, these are not big boy friendly. So
Yeah.
I upgraded to some seats that had a little more leg room, and my first flight actually got canceled. Um,
Oh,
so I was up the night Wednesday night and getting everything ready, made sure that when we woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning, so I can get on the 8 a.m. flight, that everything was ready and all I had to do was grab it. Well, I got a text through the app that said my flight had been canceled. I was like, what? So I ended up staying up late and calling, and then only the next flight they had was 6 p.m. Thursday. So I had to sit there and wait, and which kind of it killed the whole Thursday because I was supposed to get in at 11 on Thursday, and then we were going to go see the town. He's going to show me the desert in the daytime. Anyway, ended up getting there. I flew from Charleston to Charlotte, which was a 30-minute flight, which means most of the flight was going to be on that next one. And that next one was 3.5 hours from Charlotte to El Paso, Texas. And I'll tell you what, you really don't know what you're made of until you fly in a cramped seat, probably about this wide, for three and a
19
half
inches.
hours. Oh man, it was tough.
They say
But
19 inches or so, but then don't forget too that those armrests kind of dig into your sides like that too.
mhm.
Those things are not made for big people.
Yeah, and then if the seat belts don't work, don't fit you, or if they do, they're like, whatever. So I think the flight attendant like just didn't check my seatbelt because I never buckled up. I was like, I'm not doing that. If we're going down anyway. So whatever. Anyway, so I land there, and El Paso is kind of a small airport. Walked out, and here comes this. I think it's a blue Dodge Ram. Drove up, and I saw the little Muddy River boat in the back, and he rolled down the window. And I was like, "What's up, man? Can I get a ride?" So we rode, and we stopped at a Whataburger, which we don't have Whataburger here. Do you have Whataburger in Iowa?
No, we don't. I've heard a lot about it though.
They have more Whataburgers than McDonald's in Iowa. It seems like. But we stopped at a Whataburger, and that took 15 minutes off the trip because we sat there forever and waited. But I think every fast food restaurant is going through that right about now.
Yeah.
So anyway, we got on the road. We went to pass through Las Cruces, which is where Kris lives, and we went to Elephant Butte, which a lot of people jokingly call it Elephant Butt. Um, we stayed in the hotel room there. We got in about 1:30 a.m. and then went to sleep. Woke up the next morning about 6 o'clock and went out to the ditch, as it's called. And let me tell you, so you said something about New Mexico being hot. Well, it does get hot there, but this weekend it was frigid. It was really, really cold.
Oh.
It was about 30 degrees. And I know you're like, haha, 30 degrees, but it was cold. And so I wasn't really prepared for that. When we got down, we drove for about an hour to this back road, and it actually was paved down most of the way. And then Kris is like, "Yeah, well, they put this thing here," and then we went off the paved road, and we started going down into the mountains, and we just kept going down and down and down, bumping and bumping, and then we finally got down to the spot, and it's just like you would see in his videos, just like a little clearing, and you see the river right there. It's like an opening, like maybe 15 foot in the trees where you can see the muddy river. And unfortunately, he said it was down 4 foot,
Oh
which
wow.
yeah, it was pretty low, which kind of started the battle for that day. But if you've ever seen Muddy River catfishing, and if you haven't, you need to go check it out. It's a great channel on YouTube. But there's this little offshoot of the Rio Grande River, which is a giant river, but it's an offshoot. And basically, it's a 10-foot wide, in some areas, creek. And you can't really, there's no boat ramp. You can only get like a little dinghy in there. And if you can imagine a rescue boat or a dinghy like on the back of a yacht, are you putting that in your mind, like a little white little dinghy John boat type thing? Well, then
Okay.
cut that in half, and that's what we fished out of. It was probably 7 foot long, kind of like hard plastic, and he has a little Coleman outboard air cooled engine that he puts on there. And we had 2 oars, 4 rods, and he's got monster rod holders mounted on them. Basically, when you sit, so Kris sits on a little cooler in the back to run the engine, and I sat on like the one cross seat that's in the middle,
Yep.
and his knee is in my back. That's how tight it is. And basically, I can reach out and touch the front of the boat. So it's really small, and I was kind of worried being a big guy. I was like, yeah, I don't know about this. And he's like, oh well, don't worry, Steve Douglas has been in this thing, and I was like, yeah, but I've met Steve Douglas, and I'm a little bigger than Steve. But that was fine. Um, but in some of those areas, we started tracking up the river. We had to pull the boat out the back of the truck and put it in and jump in there. And basically it sits so low you got to cross your legs Indian style. So it tends to cut off circulation every once in a while. So it's not the most comfortable thing, but when you see this river, like there's no other than like a kayak or maybe a canoe, you're not getting up anything up in there. So we start going up, and if you can imagine, it's like a just a brown, muddy river, as it says in this title, and then there's cattails lining the whole thing. Um, and these cattails act as like two walls. And I joked around. I was like, man, I should have brought the drone so you could get up high and actually see it, see where you're going through, because you can't see anything. Like you see the water in front of you, and you see the cattails on the side. And you ride up. Basically, you ride up this river, and there's two sections of it that he's got names for. And one section is called the Sticks. Now, based on what I've told you, what do you think the Sticks means?
Well,
You don't know?
I at this point, I'm my what's on my mind. I'm thinking I couldn't do that, and I'm thinking I'm bigger than you are, so I'd probably
I
sink
don't know
that
about
little
that.
boat. And
Well, the
then
Sticks,
I'm also wondering if you got like claustrophobia just
no,
being inside of the cattails too, like
no,
you're in a tunnel.
no. It just left me wondering what was on the other side. Um, but basically, you get up to this section, so it's like 3 feet. You're riding 3 feet at this point with the river being low. It's like 3 feet, and sometimes you can feel the bottom of the river scraping the bottom of the boat. Um, and you get to the section he calls the Sticks, which basically used to be a bunch of trees that have been knocked down or whatever stumps. And so you're having to weave. And keep in mind, there's current coming through this thing. Like I thought that maybe it was kind of a little stagnant, but no, there's healthy current coming through this river. Half mile an hour, maybe not more than that, but it's enough to really push against the boat. So you're having to weave around these sticks in and out and in and out. Meanwhile, you have dead cattails or um, dislodged cattails that have floated down the river, getting spun up in the prop. So we'd ride up on a stick, and I had to hold the stick while Kris um, tilted the motor up to get the grass out of the prop. So we had to do that. We had to keep going around and around and around. Um, and then we would get to these blockages in the river where all of these cattails, I guess, had fallen in, or maybe a flood had come, or wind or something, and it dislodged them and they fall in the river and they start floating together. And so as they get down, if you can imagine, they just create a blockage. And when you get up on it in the boat, you basically have to pull yourself through. So we were having to grab the cattails from the bank and pull the boat through with all of our weight. Meanwhile, trying to whack the cattails so we can just get upriver. That happened about 4 or 5 times on the way up. The next section is called the jungle. And so when you get to the jungle, it goes from about 10 foot wide to about 4 or 5 foot wide. And so you're riding through and you're literally looking up, and there's cattails like up above your head and close enough to where you can grab both sides of them. You can grab the cattails on both sides. And so although it got deeper in that section, you can imagine the river blockages were heavier. And so we went through that. And finally, we got to an opening. He said, all right, now we're through it. This is it. We're about to get to the spot. And we went up to this first spot. We anchored. It was beautiful. Um, it was where kind of two streams came together. And we threw out baits. We had fresh shad and carp. We put it on this three-way rig that he makes with braid. And he doesn't use any swivels. He ties a dropper loop all the way to the bottom of the braid, and then from the dropper loop where the weight comes up about, I don't know, about 12, 13 inches, he ties another loop within the line for the hook. So there's no swivels, there's no hardware at all. It's hard line straight to the main line, which I thought was interesting. And then we cast out in about 7, 8 foot of water, and we waited. And Mike, I'm gonna tell you, the excitement of knowing that there's monster flatheads down there was almost unbearable. Because we did get some bites. Unfortunately, we didn't catch anything. It's actually the first time he's been skunked on the Muddy River, which I told him, I said, that's what you get for bringing me with you. Um, but we had a lot of bites, especially in that first spot. And Mike, they would load up this rod, and the rod would just bend down, like, and it would just keep going. And I'm sitting there looking at Chris. I'm like, now, now, now. He's like, no, no, wait, 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 wait. Now, now, no, no, no. He's just mouthing it. He's just mouthing it. It's like, okay. Then finally he let me reel down on it. I reeled down on it and nothing was there. It was the craziest thing, man. All morning long, you'd see these bites where the rod tip would just bend ever so slightly, and then you'd have a couple that would pop, like they sucked it in, but then the rod tip would come back up. So what Chris told me is that these flatheads, they'll take this bait, right, and because they're bigger baits, and they'll try to mouth it and kind of turn it around in their mouth and try to make sure it's dead and make sure it's turned the right way to swallow, kind of like a bird or a snake. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah.
Like a
Yeah, I
bird or
know
a
what you
snake?
yep. Yep, I know what you're talking about.
So they said that's what they're doing, and maybe the cold had made them finicky. But every time we reeled down, nothing was there. But I said there was current, and some people might be listening and saying, "Well, you know, you got current, and that's what it was. It wasn't bites." Now these were like, if it wasn't a fish, it was a person under the water. Like you can tell it was some force, not of water, pulling it down. But but man, it was so much fun to be out there and see where these all these epic videos were filmed. You called it the ditch. Um, and it is. It basically feels like you're in a giant ditch, um, but with giant fish in it. And I wish I would have got to see one of those giant fish. So I'll have to go out again and try to get one. But it's a funny thing because I want to make the video, right. And on the way back, I just kind of got this idea because I had a GoPro running most of the time. On the way back, I got this idea as we were getting to this one big blockage. And I don't know if you've ever felt hopelessness like this, but we got up to this blockage and it was at least 10 feet of nothing but cattail reeds in front of us, thick, blocking the entire way. I'm thinking we're never getting out of here. We're never ever getting out of here. Me and Chris sat there and paddled and scraped, and we reached down there with our hands and tried to move the cattails out the way because the motor couldn't push us through. And so when we finally got back, I said, "You know what? I am going to make this video." He goes, "Oh yeah, what's it going to be about?" I said, "It's going to be called the Muddy River Boot Camp because I got a workout today." So
Now you mentioned that action on the rod tips. Which of the Muddy River line of rods were you guys using?
just the flathead and the Paula Smith rods.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so
Now
those are the rods that were made for that river.
there is some sort of magic in that flathead rod, and I also have a Paula Smith rod. Um, I was using one the other day, and I'm like, one of these days I'm gonna put this rod in the right location at the right time, and then I'm gonna see this magic come out of this rod. But you mentioned earlier that Muddy River Catfishing is an amazing YouTube channel. There are also some awesome fishing rods, and he makes T-shirts, and even for petite guys like us, and sweatshirts, and he's got some other equipment. So
Yeah, it's
definitely
it's been a little
definitely look
over
forward to using that.
yeah, so it's been a little over a year since I met Chris on YouTube. Watched him for longer, obviously, but probably 11 or 12, little over 12 months ago, we had him on the show, and that was an epic night. It was, it was Chris Flores come on, a bunch of other people came on to thank him. It's kind of like a surprise to him, like just to thank him for being an inspiration to people. And he's so humble, like he would never do it himself. He would never, ask anybody to do that. So he uh, he had we had him on, and we had Luke Nichols came on that night. Fishing and stuff was on, so it was an epic night. And so I say that to say that it's not like Chris and I have known each other our whole lives, and already just within a year, that's how nice he is. He just invites me out to his home state on his boat, in his river, on his lake to go fishing, and I just think that speaks volumes of what kind of person he is.
Yeah, and he gave you a free workout.
Yeah,
You
free
know.
workout, Muddy River Boot Camp. I didn't even mention that after that we had to load the boat back up.
Yep. Yep. I was going to ask you how heavy the engine was.
Not that bad. Maybe
Yeah.
about 50 pounds.
Well, in a lot of his videos, he's by himself. So
Hmm.
imagine him not having your help and having to do all this by
Hmm.
himself.
I asked him about that. He said that he'll back down as far as he can, and he'll just drag the boat down there. So there's a lot of sand down there, so he can drag the boat through it. After that, we went back into town, and I washed the mud off my jeans with the hotel wash rag, and we went to dinner. We had ate at a place called Los Arcos, which we have a Los Arcos here in Goose Creek, close to where I live. It's a Mexican restaurant. So I'm thinking we're going to a Mexican restaurant, right? Um, but no, it's a steak restaurant, like a high end steak and lobster restaurant. So we go in there, and we had a little bit of trouble with mask situation when we went in there. We were supposed to have masks on, and we didn't. But thankfully, we had Dave's guide services, and Dave runs guide trips on Elephant Butte, which is where we went the next day, and he does white bass and walleye trips. But apparently, he's a little more well liked in those steakhouses than Chris Flores, because he walked in there, and the guy in the back, the owner's like, "Oh, hey man, whatever. Here's a mask," and he gave us mask, and so we were able to go sit down. We walked 10 feet with the mask on,
Yeah.
sat down, and took them off. So
Sat down, took him off.
that's kind of crazy. I was like, "Come on, man." Anyway, but you open the menu, and it's like steaks, like high end steakhouse, and I'm sitting there looking at it. I'm like, "Whoo, man!"
We
And
talking
what
like
is
$50,
yeah,
$70,
yeah, like
$100.
like nothing under $40.
Yep.
I'm like, all right, man, where's the chicken strips?
Can
Every,
I see the kids menu?
yeah, every
Kids
restaurant's got
chicken
chicken
nuggets.
strips, right? So again, Chris looks over at me. He puts his hand on my shoulder, and he goes, "Anything you want, man. It's on me." I was like, "What? No, you don't. You're not. Don't do that. Nah, man. It's your birthday. You only turn
Yeah, it's
40
your
once."
birthday.
And I was like, "Okay, cool. Well, I'll have what you're having then." And so we had some prime rib, um, with a baked potato and some broccolini, which apparently nobody liked, but one person that we were with. Broccolini is like some kind of Japanese infusion between broccoli and asparagus. I don't know. Everybody pushed it to. I tasted it, and it tastes like broccoli to me, uh, but
So
anyway, it was
you're not a
delicious.
fan of broccoli?
I love broccoli.
Okay.
I don't have a problem with broccoli. Broccolini though, I really didn't know what to think about that. But so we and then the guy brought apparently Friday, October 15th is National Pug Day. Did you know that?
No. I am not on
Our
Facebook enough to know when all these national days are.
our waiter knew what National Pug Day was, because he comes up and he goes, "Hey everybody, happy National Pug Day."
Wow.
Oh, okay, awesome. I said, we're not pugs, right? That he was a nice kid. He ended up bringing me out a piece of birthday cake, but it was like a uh, what do you call it? What do they call mocha coffee flavored
Oh, wow.
cake? Or it was delicious.
Oh,
Nobody
wow.
wanted to help me eat it, and so I ate it, and I ate way too much. So I had I think it was like a 15-ounce prime rib, a baked potato, and a big piece of cake. I was done, and I went to the Muddy River boot camp earlier that
Yeah.
day. So,
That'll put you to sleep.
oh man, it'll make you do other things too, but we won't go there. But we ended up on the way back. They were having an Elephant Butte celebration weekend. So I guess every year they bring in like a carnival atmosphere. They do a parade and everything, and it just happened to be that weekend. So there was a live band playing. They had like carnival style
You sure Chris
food.
didn't set all that up for your birthday?
Yeah, I don't know, man. He might have.
He
But
might have.
there was a live country band playing. They played some country music and some Mexican music, and they played. Uh, well, they had like what was it? Like carnival style foods like elephant ears and things like that, and the
Yeah.
fries. What were the fries you wanted me to explain
You
to you?
the sign said ribbon fries.
Ribbon fries. I think
Yeah.
those are like when you take it's kind of like a peeler over a
Oh.
over a potato, and you just keep the ribbon going around the kind of like a peeling an apple almost.
Oh,
And,
wow.
and so
You
then
know
they just
you
fry
know,
those.
potato is my kryptonite. So, I'm gonna have to talk to my friend who owns a restaurant here and see what he can do for me. Try to replicate this.
Yeah, man. I didn't actually eat anything because obviously I was full. But they had vendors out there. The mayor was there of Elephant Butte. She
Were
was
you
there,
presented the
and
key to the city?
I was not. But
No?
only so much we can do on short notice.
True, true.
Um, but there's a guy selling a tandem kayak, a Hobie tandem kayak, and I looked at Dave, who's another big fella, and I said, "I don't know, man. I don't know if this is made for me and you." Yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't. But then they had people selling knickknacks and jewelry and purses and stuff like that. It was pretty cool, and people came out and was dancing and everything, and it was like 7 or 8 o'clock at night, and in a gravel parking lot. It was just really down home country style, and that's the thing I'll say about New Mexico, or at least Elephant Butte, is everything seemed really country, like country western, and I guess it is in the West, but you just don't expect that. I guess being that they have a really democratic governing system that you wouldn't expect down home country type living like that, and I don't know. I really enjoyed it. Really, really enjoyed it. And Chris was telling me that and I witnessed it firsthand. So he'll go park on the weekends to do his guide trips at this hotel, right? And he'll leave his rods and coolers and everything, his boat sitting in the parking lot, and nobody steals anything. Like he's never had anything stolen out of his boat, never had anything stolen out of his truck, and he's got a basically a several $100 boat just sitting in the back of his truck that two guys can easily lift out of there with that Coleman outboard engine, not locked down, nothing, just strapped down. Probably shouldn't be talking about this because now people are going to go look for him and say, "I'll steal it."
So so how long do you think that would last in front of a hotel somewhere near where you live?
I told him, I said, "That'd be gone before you went to sleep." It's
They
just,
you saying they'd take it in the sunlight, or
well,
they'd
no,
take
I
it
mean,
they
no,
would
they'd
wait for the
they'd wait.
cover of dark.
Yeah, they'd wait
Right.
till the sun went down, but you might get lucky, but not for as long a streak as he's been. He says he's been guiding for
Yeah.
2 or 3 years, and you know, maybe the big stuff they wouldn't mess with, but I don't even leave my rods and my boat in my own neighborhood. I couldn't imagine. He said that's just how it is, man. That's how it is around here. And in fact, when Paula Smith went and visited him a couple months ago, she had left her phone on the bumper of his truck and it fell off in town somewhere. So they kept calling it, and somebody answered it and said, "Hey, I found this phone." She ended up getting her phone back.
Huh.
And I'm like, "Well, yeah, that phone would have been jailbroke and sold or something."
Somebody
So
here
anyway,
would have just run over it just so they could say that they ran over a phone.
yeah, 5 points.
Yep.
Well, unfortunately, something must be wrong with our chat because I don't see the Boom Squad chatting up in here. But I hope they can see it. And just to take a little pause, if you wanted to see this live, you can come over to the Palmetto Cats YouTube channel and you can check us out. And you can check it out and you can live chat with us. And you have to be a member to watch it live. But if you want to wait 3 weeks, you can see the live broadcast and it'll be posted on the YouTube channel, Palmetto Cats YouTube channel. Yep, I just went over there to the YouTube section and I don't see any chat. So either no one's watching or the chat's malfunctioned or something.
Well, we are doing it on a different night, so you never
Yeah.
know.
No, well, I saw one of them in here earlier, but that
Yep.
was there we go. There we
Hey,
go. Okay,
what's up,
so
Tom?
they're here. So maybe it is because it's a weird night, but I'm glad it's working though. Thanks, Tom. Cool. So let's move on. So Saturday we get up early again, and it's even colder, Mike. It's like 30 degrees, and we've got long sleeve shirt on. We've got t-shirt on. I've got a hoodie on, plus my windbreaker jacket. And and so we get out here, and when you drive up to Elephant Butte Lake, like it's pretty much it is the biggest lake in New Mexico, I believe. Um and I didn't know that the lake was only at 6% capacity. So apparently they've had a drought for a while, and when you
Wow.
roll up on the lake, it's down in like a valley, or it looks like it should be a valley. But basically, what it is, it's just the lake is at 6% capacity, and a lot of people, Kris was telling me around New Mexico, complain that it's a little puddle. There's no water in it. It's not even worth fishing or doing whatever. But man, it's so beautiful. It's like mountains everywhere. You get to the boat ramp, and the boat ramp is probably a half a mile down. So you back your car down. Well, you don't have to back it. You drive down forwards down the boat ramp. So if you can imagine that, you drive down the boat ramp forwards, and when you get down
Oh.
to the bottom, you turn around and then back it in.
Yeah, I don't
But I
want to
mean,
imagine that.
well, it's a pretty steep slope, but I mean,
Well,
you're
I don't like
driving,
heights, so even inclines to me sometimes it's like, oh, let's not do this.
you're driving down towards the water, right? And then you turn around and then you back it in. And it's kind of surreal. I'm sitting there imagining in my mind like where everything would be if the water was up where it's supposed to be. So all there's two marinas in that lake, which I think is awesome. We don't have marinas in our lakes, but basically, like all that would be up and it'd be floating out. Most of that boat ramp wouldn't be there.
Hmm.
All the little businesses that have been built, like on the side of the lake, would have to be moved. So you know, and the coolest part is that even though it's only at 6% capacity, like there's some deep parts of the lake. There's 50 or 60-foot spots. So you can imagine if it was at full capacity, how deep that lake would be.
Did he say why it's even made that way then? I mean, because we're talking about a place that's in the middle of the desert, right? So surely they can't ever expect to get so much more rain or water or flooding that they would have to use the other 94%, do they?
Well, and I think it used to be full because you can see the
Oh,
water line on the mountains.
oh my.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can see the water line, and that's what he pointed out. He pointed out, you see where the water line used to be. So it used to be up there, but years and years of drought, it is going to go down. Um, and the dam,
Wow.
like you go up to the dam, and you're like looking up, you're like, whoa. But but yeah, so it used to be up that way. And so because it's been low for so long, things have been moved in. A lot of stuff is on rollers or floating, that sort of thing. There's a lot of extra line for buoys and whatever. Because I think, even if the water started to come up, it wouldn't come up like all at one time. It'd take years and years for it to build back up. So they would have time, he explained to me. Anyway, but I thought it was really awesome to be riding through Elephant Butte and you see there's an old volcano in the lake, which is really cool. You see the rock formation to where um, the rock formation that the lake was named after. It kind of looks like an elephant. Really looks cool. But so we started off dragging baits and we went and met some guys that watched the channel, Gary and Brandon. That was fun. And then we went back out and started fishing, and I ate some wrap snacks, and they hit me
Thought
the
you said
wrong way.
rat. Thought you said
Wrap,
rat. I was like, whoa.
wrap. So I ate some wrap snacks, some Cardi B chips, and so then I had to go back and use the restroom. And I'm sure Kris was rolling his eyes. He's like, "Come on, man." I was like, "Hey, man, if this was my boat, we wouldn't have to go nowhere." But anyway, we ended up going out there, and we went live stream, and caught a few fish. I think we caught 3 or 4 live, just little blue cats. And what was interesting about these catfish is that they were pale. They were like bright white. I guess because they were down in the mud, and maybe because the water is so murky, the sunlight can't get through and give those fish a tan. So that was something that's interesting. Have you ever seen? I guess you don't have blues in your area. You've never caught a blue cat, right?
Nope, never.
So to ask you if you've seen a blue cat like that would probably be, yeah. So
No, when you were holding it up, I was like, man, that thing is pale.
it is really pale, like bright white. And the Potomac River has catfish like that too. Some of those catfish that those guys pull in are bright white like that, but not this one though. This one was so white it was almost pink. It was so white. But there's one point in the live stream, and I don't know if you were in there. A boat came by, and it was rocking the boat. We were catching a fish, and the entire camera rig went into the water.
Yep, I saw it.
So my phone, my the tripod, which was Kris's, and then the microphone all went into the water, and there was about 3 inches of tripod legs sticking out of the water. I was able to bend over, and I got the GoPro footage. I got it on 2 GoPros, so it's pretty
Sweet.
interesting. Yeah. So I was able to jump over and grab it and pull it up, and thankfully, I got the phone here with just working fine all week. And I tested the microphone out today. The microphone works. So the
Wow.
Lord was definitely with me. Oh man, but it's a lot of the same type of fishing. Like we were dragging baits.
Mm-hmm.
I did learn that I was throwing my lines out too far on my planer boards. Kris said, I watch you when you use planer boards and you throw your lines out too far. So I learned that. I learned how to tie a new rig. Um, got the saw that I got to see. Sorry, that traditional flathead bite that people talk about all the time, but I've never seen. Every flathead I've ever caught has slammed the rod. So
Yep.
that was the first time I'd ever seen that. Have you ever seen one bite like that?
Oh yes, yes. On my adventures with River Certified, I finally got to see it, and then obviously got to see it the Womp also on the one that I actually got to reel in. Um, I was gonna go back and give you one more side note on when you put the tripod into the water. we were watching, and Lauren's like, "What'd you do that for, Kevin?" He's just yelling right at the tablet. I'm like, "We didn't do it on purpose." She's like, "Shouldn't have done that." I'm like, "We know, we know." So it was awesome. It was quite a moment here, sitting here watching you fish on the couch. I'm like, "Whoa, oh,
So
sweet."
now,
Still working.
so if you go back and look at that live stream, all you see is it start to tip, and then you see when I come back in. But what did you experience live?
I I was trying to figure out what had happened. Like I didn't understand it. I was just
Mhm.
I'm like, "Wait a minute." And then there you are and you're explaining it, and then I have my 5-year-old saying, "What'd you do that for? What'd you do that for?" And I'm just like, "Shouldn't have done that." I'm like, "Calm down." It's like, "Oh," it's like he says his microphone, look, it's just dripping.
Mm,
I was like, "Oh well, we'll have to get another couple things here." I was like, "I
I
can't
thought
believe
so.
the phone works."
Yeah, the
So,
phone was fine, and
that's
the
awesome.
microphone seems to be fine. So, hey, I'm down with that.
Well, it could have been like $1,000 mistake, right?
Oh yeah,
You know,
yeah.
but it's
Well,
not
I'm
now,
making
so
payments on this phone. I don't own it yet, so.
mm.
But I think the experience was definitely uh, you know it sounds cliche, but catching fish is always more fun. No doubt. There's no doubting that. But I think that most people, at least in the catfishing world, they fish because they enjoy the time outside. They enjoy the time, you know, relaxing on the bank or on the boat, and just I think the hope is enough to drive you as well. Like you never know when that rod's going to bend over. You never know when something's amazing is going to happen. But then also having the experience of traveling to a state that I've only ever driven through, we waved as we went by. Um, Actually experiencing different culture within the United States. Um, Seeing the different landscapes. There's no green out there really. It's all brown, and unless you go down to the Muddy River, then there's a tree line. Um, but just to see all that, I think is worth it to me. To get to fish with somebody like Kris, who's on YouTube at least, is kind of a legend. He's been doing it for 8 years, 8 or 9 years. He's got 125,000 subscribers. He's you know come up with a lot of original ideas that people have tried to reproduce, and he's inspired a lot of people to create content. So to get a chance to go out there and to fish with them, and just to you know rub elbows with someone I consider a friend, is awesome. Um, so catching the fish is definitely better, but just going out and having that experience was awesome. His boat on the lake. A lot of people think that's a pontoon boat. It's actually a deck boat.
Yeah, it
And so
looked
when we
different.
were, yeah,
Your camera angle made me think differently of it, and I was gonna I was gonna joke with you. I had seen all the pictures and everything, and you're there, and he's like in the back, almost like making like the cool looking, funny photo bomb kind of thing. And on Facebook, I was gonna put, "Man, how'd you Photoshop yourself onto his boat?" But
yeah. So it's a really unique boat. He's kind of decked it out, personalized it, but it's called a deck boat, and so basically it has a fiberglass bottom, kind of like you know a regular fiberglass boat, but then on top it's flat, and you have rails like a pontoon, which is why some people think that it's a pontoon boat. Um, so it definitely gets up on plane faster than a pontoon. It's faster than a pontoon boat would be because it has all that surface area to glide on. Um, and he's just got a new engine for it. So he's got I think it's 125 horse or 150 horse Yamaha in the back. And one of the really unique things that I didn't really think of having a pontoon is that on a deck boat, you have like the in deck storage. So like a ski boat, you can pull that thing out the bottom and you can store stuff up in the
Uh-huh.
hull of the boat, which I was like, man, that I forgot about that. That would be awesome. And some tri-tunes have that. So if you get a tri-tune, you'll have storage within that third tune. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah,
Um,
one of my
it,
friends had a deck boat, but he didn't have railings on the outside like that. So, I mean, I guess you could just jump right off the side and go for a swim on, without having to have the railings there. But yeah, I had always thought it was a pontoon boat until I saw you on it. And then I'm like, wait a minute, that doesn't look like a pontoon boat from this perspective.
I just
And
thought
it,
Chris was really tiny.
and then I'm looking at it, I'm like, huh, I wonder what that is. So yeah, that's awesome that you can explain that. And hey, we're all here talking about catfishing, fishing, other species as well. So why not, consider all the possibilities? We have a friend who can't help but look at boats every day now, so it seems. So now we have something else for him to consider, and
Mhm.
that's
Yeah, and so in
awesome.
my in I got video footage of the boat on the trailer, so you'll be able to get a good look at it
Oh wow.
and really see what it looks like. And I think he's got some videos of it too, but Chris has got so many videos. He's done all that stuff early on. Um, so unless you really go back through his videos, which I recommend everybody does, but if you go back through those videos, you'll see stuff like boat setup and things like that. I said, man, you should do an updated boat video. I mean, you redid your seats. He said he put a new live well up front, your power systems, anchor, how you anchor, all that stuff. Bimini top. A lot of the ideas that he has in his boat, when mine is ready for a rebuild, which hopefully won't be in the near future, I'm going to shift my decking around to match it. Like I've always wanted that center console boat, so you can walk around the
Yep.
entire outside rail of the boat. Um, have more rod holders on it, man. I mean, you can fish out of any side you want.
Yep. And with as many people as your boat can carry, that can be a tremendous advantage here or there.
Mhm.
So
So another thing that was unique about New Mexico is we ate green chilies, hatch chilies, and he tried to get me to try it that night at the steakhouse. He ordered a side of them, and I was like, "Nah, I'm good. I'm all right." Actually, I think I probably faked them out. I thought they were his, and so that's why I didn't eat them. I thought they were yours. But but then we on Saturday when we were leaving Elephant Butte, me, him, and Dave stopped at this drive up or drive in restaurant type place where you don't go inside, you just eat out on picnic tables.
sure.
And they had like a double cheeseburger with chilies. You can get green chilies on it. And I was like, oh man. All right. So I got some chilies on the side. I tore off a piece of my burger, put one on there, and ate it. It was actually pretty good. Like you don't really taste the chili at all. It's a little bit of spice, just a little bit of heat. Um, and it wasn't bad. I'm gonna be honest, it wasn't bad. I would do it again because it added that little bit of flavor to the burger as well. So I will say I tried something new as well. I think my wife was surprised because I texted her and I said, "Yeah, I tried green chilies and it wasn't bad."
Now, is that something that she could grow in the garden?
Yeah, she said that she tried to grow them last year, but the seeds didn't germinate.
Yep.
So we can try those again next year. And so then when we went back to his place and we put the boat up, and I got to meet Fran, his lady, and I got to meet Alex, who's super awesome. Um, and if you ever need somebody to talk to, you call Alex up. Alex can
Yeah.
talk. Yeah, he can talk and he can talk. He's definitely a people person. Um, so then we went and we were trying, we're gonna go to a hotel so I can stay with the one night. And on the way back, we stop at this place called Calichi's. Um, and I guess I don't know if it's just a New Mexico thing, but apparently it's like a custard based ice cream joint. You ever had? Do you have any of those?
We have some places here that do focus on custard, but they also do like burgers and stuff out of the
Mm.
same.
Yeah, so we have a Culver's which does that.
Oh, that's who I was referring
Oh,
to.
okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
so we have a
I didn't know if
Culver's,
Culver's was nationwide.
but we have one in the whole Low Country, and it's in Somerville, and their burgers are really good. The butter burgers are good, and they
I've
have the
never been a
custard.
fan. I think I'm the only
Really?
one. I think I'm the only one.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about that later.
And I like butter.
I
I like
love
butter on my
butter.
popcorn, but
They're a little bit pricey too. Maybe that's why. It's like you expect more
so you call me
than what
cheap?
you get. No, I'm saying that if you're gonna pay that price, you expect a little more. Um,
Come on, man, that was really funny.
but,
Okay,
ha ha
maybe it was just funny to me.
ha.
All right.
But anyway, so we went to Calichi's, and they even have a caliche, which is their custard ice cream with green
Okay.
chilies.
Uh-oh. There we go again. Green
I
chilies.
I did not get that one,
No.
but Chris told me he's tried it, and he said it's actually not bad.
Now you mentioned that you tried it. You're glad that you tried it. It did add
Mhm.
flavor. It set well in your stomach
Yeah.
because it's not something that you eat a lot of.
No, it
Okay.
was fine.
Good.
It's very mild, and it wasn't a heat that lasted.
Okay.
Like you ate
Well,
it.
you travel places and sometimes it's like, oh, it's like food's a little different here. I'm not doing so
Well,
well.
and that's the other thing. Like I have a very sensitive digestive system when I travel anyway. So, it's like I guess just when you travel, whatever you do, you're locked up in a car or on a plane, or you're going through different climates, and then
Mhm.
you eat stuff that you don't normally eat, and so you get that uneasy stomach. But no,
You
it
were
wasn't
frozen
any.
in this trip too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But no, it wasn't anything that really tore me up or nothing like
Good.
that. But
Good.
it was good, and by the time you swallowed the burger, the bite, the heat was almost gone. So that, it was very mild, and uh I think they're very proud. I know Chris is very proud of the Hatch chili
Hmm.
um tradition out there, and I think the whole community is. So I'm glad that I tried it, and I'm even more happy that I liked it, so that they could, not that me not liking it would not make him proud of it, but
Yeah.
but
Yep.
though but
Yep.
that he can say, yeah, man, hey, Kevin liked it and Paula liked it, and everybody's liked it, and so yeah, we're the green chili place. And anyway, that was cool. But yeah, man, it was a great trip. I the flight back was definitely better. He picked me up the next morning, and he had some brisket tacos for me
Now we're
when I
talking.
got in the truck. Yeah, man, two brisket tacos and a tortilla wrap, and I guess it was brisket, egg, and cheese.
Oh, oh,
Yeah, it was
that
good.
sounds good.
The only bad thing, I guess it's not a bad thing, it's just something that you deal with when you eat brisket tacos in the morning, is that every time you burp later, it's like, oh, there it
Yeah.
is. I remember that. It was good.
Didn't he oftentimes take burritos onto the boat?
Mm-hmm.
We talk about like burrito bite or something like that,
Mm-hmm. The
or
burrito bite. Yeah.
yeah. Did you have burritos when you were on the boat?
Nope. We
No.
had so on Friday when we went to the river, we had crispy crunchy chicken, which is you wouldn't think that fried chicken would be something that you would want to take out there, but it hit the spot, man.
Nice.
It really hit the spot. Like he put it in a gallon sized bag and just put it in the cooler and you just bust it out and just starts chomping on it, man. Fried chicken out on the water. It's definitely a thumbs up from me. I suggest it.
I'd eat some right now.
Fried chicken, tacos, prime rib,
Sounds great.
green chili burger, any of that stuff. But yeah, so he dropped me off at the El Paso airport, got on the plane, and rode to Dallas Fort Worth, which is a giant airport,
That's like a city.
massive. It
Yeah.
is. It is a city. It's so big, in fact, that when you get off of your flight, if your next flight isn't in that terminal, you have to take a sky train to the next terminal. And so I had to ride the sky train for like 10 minutes. I can't imagine how long it would have taken me to walk. Probably longer than it would have taken for my flight to get there. But
Oh
took
yeah.
the
That
sky
place
train.
that place is ridiculously big.
Yeah, and because of the sky train, it didn't really feel that big, so I was thankful for that. But I got on there, and it took me to my next terminal, and I had like half an hour just to chill, and I got me a croissant and some gourmet peanut M and M's, just because they look good, and one of those sugar free sweet teas, and it was like $14. I was like, God, man, you guys are this is highway robbery. Um, and anyway, I ate whatever, and we got on the plane. I put the lid on the tea and got on the plane. We're sitting there about to take off, and I feel some what I thought was heat in my stomach, and I was like, "Uh oh!" But then it quickly turned into wetness, and I reached down, and the cap on the sweet tea had loosened, and half of it had poured out in my hoodie pocket down onto my jeans. So it looked like I had peed my pants. But we were taking off, and I was like, "Oh, God!" I could, I had a lady right next to me. I couldn't say nothing, and I wasn't about to ask for a towel, so I just opened it up, chugged the rest, and I just sat there with a wet crotch for the rest of the ride. I got back to Charleston, and I just held my bag in front of me when I was getting off the flight. I was like, I didn't want nobody to think that fat guy peed his pants on the trip. But anyway, we got back and got in the car, and Anna was there to pick me up. We went and picked up some Marco's pizza. Came home, and she had put balloons up and happy birthday sign and everything. And she's really sweet. She got us some cupcakes, and so we had Marco's pizza and cupcakes, and just kind of spent the evening with each other. And that was the trip, man. And I woke up on Monday, went to work, and got my second vax shot, and I've been down ever since. Man, Tuesday sucked, and today wasn't much better until about 1:30. I finally got over the side effects from it. So those of you who were waiting for this podcast to come out yesterday, I apologize. We wouldn't have had a good time on Tuesday night if I had to come and do this podcast. So thankfully, we were able to do it tonight, and I hate that the Boom Squad, who usually watches it live, you know, several of them obviously couldn't tune in, but thankful for the ones we do have in here, and I'm thankful for everyone who's watching. Mike, what, how's your week been? Anything interesting happened? I heard that you and someone got to go fishing today.
Oh yeah, we got to go fishing today after school and work. That was really fun. I actually got out of work 41 minutes early. So I could come home, grab some stuff, make some sandwiches, and let the dog out and feed him. And all that stuff real quick, and then go pick Lauren up from school. And we uh, we are still enjoying the different fishing and the influence of having done different fishing. So she said she wanted to go catch bigger largemouth bass.
Hmm.
And the next fish she wants to catch also are crappie and walleye. So my brother had discovered a pond. His son went fishing with a friend and his dad at this pond and showed Dan, my brother, where it's at, and
Mm-hmm.
there's largemouth bass in there. So had a pretty good time, and my brother's like, "Oh, don't even bring anything. They only bite on minnows." I'm like, "Yeah, we'll see about that." I
Hmm.
was like, I've been fishing a while. I know a few things. So I was like, let's just see what I can do. So sure enough, he was right. They were rabid on those minnows,
Really?
and I threw out a couple chunks of shad because there's some big channel cats in there, but I didn't
Mm-hmm.
know where to throw. I'm just blind throwing. Remember
Mm-hmm.
wasn't that one of the terms? The
Mm-hmm.
blind
Blind
cast,
cast. Yep.
blind cast. So we had only so much time, and Lauren is doing the minnow under a bobber thing with my
Mm.
brother's help and my nieces, my two nieces and my nephew's help. So it was amazing. I was getting a couple lines set up to throw out there in case catfish decided to put the pounding on those. And then next thing you know, I start putting some different lures on some different rods so that way they can be tried, because let's
Mm-hmm.
face it, yeah, everything likes minnows. That's nice and all, but let's see if we can break this and just try.
Mm-hmm.
And my brother loves that. He's like, absolutely, let's try. Well, sure enough, I took a tube jig or a little jig head. I had a red tube with a chartreuse skirting on it,
Hmm.
and that was straight cash money.
Really?
So we caught some largemouth bass, although they were really small, like really small, like literally the size of your thumb.
Oh man.
Could just get inside of their mouth so you could lip them, just your thumb.
Uh-huh.
And then my nephew lost a big one, and sure enough, Lauren brings a rod over here. You can do this. I'm going to take a little break. I'm like, okay, and I
Mhm.
just barely threw it out there. And of course, I caught the biggest largemouth bass that anybody
Way to
caught
go.
tonight. I'm like, this wasn't supposed to happen. Lauren's like, hey, I was supposed to catch that. I'm like, I know, right? We caught a couple nice bluegill, and so I kept those, and so I can use them for some cut bait maybe this weekend. And then they're like, what are you doing with that? I'm like, well, I'm gonna keep it. And then they saw me cutting up the little shad that I had. They're like, whoa, what did you do to that? I'm like, this is fishing. And so then my brother got cold because there was like a 18-mile-per-hour winds,
Mm.
and the
It's
temperature was
windy a
dropping
lot
a
out
couple
there.
degrees every hour.
Mm.
So we started off at like, 70, 73.
Mhm.
That was great. But if you're losing 2-3 degrees per hour, then you got an
Right.
overcast and you got 18-mile-an-hour winds. He got cold pretty quick. He left, and we're just sitting there trying to pass some time, decide if we're going to
Mhm.
stay at that pond or go to another pond.
Mhm.
Lauren's cleaning some schmutz off of the lure she was throwing, puts that hook right in her thumb,
Yikes.
and not to the barb or anything, but then she's like, hey, that's my blood. And then she was not happy. So then she was done with that pond. She's like,
Oh
I'm done
man.
with this pond. Let's go to the other pond. I'm like, okay, well, we're learning some of those fishing lessons that we've all learned, and we try to, teach the children to be careful, go slowly, pay attention, not
Mhm.
just be like, hey, look, I can throw it, bam, right in the thumb. And
Mm.
we learned another lesson going to the other pond, which is don't leave the bite looking for a bite.
Right.
So
Don't
that
leave
was
fish
a
to find fish.
That was a harsh lesson. She was very upset, and I happened to catch one really nice sunfish on that
Hmm.
same tube, that same colored tube. So I think we're on to something here. And I will report that to my sister Trish immediately following our show. And again, you mentioned it earlier. You mentioned how everybody, it's easier when you're catching fish,
Right.
but we are enjoying the journey. We are enjoying the different things that this journey is putting in front of us.
Hmm.
And we had talked about it before the show. And I was joking about it when I said that you photoshopped yourself onto all those pictures of Chris's boat and over at the ditch and everything.
Uh-huh.
But to me, it's just almost surreal how cool that is.
Very cool.
And to see it and then to hear it
Hmm.
from you and to see it on your face is just that's just wow to me. That's a wow, big wow. I'm really excited. That's what a way to spend, your birthday weekend. And
Right.
he threw you a festival and
Yeah, I
you
know.
know
Yeah, and, I think if this YouTube thing doesn't do anything else, I'll definitely get to travel a lot. I mean, I've already been several places, and now put New Mexico on there, and then add Kansas City, Missouri next month, and
Yep.
then add Kentucky again in February, and Virginia the week before CatCon. So, it's definitely allowed me to travel more, for a purpose, not just, for vacation, but still, I get to take Anna with me. I didn't get to take her with me on this one, which I really wish I could have. Maybe definitely next time. But yeah, it's afforded me to go travel and meet people, and fish some really cool locations. So I'm definitely thankful for that.
Well, as a viewer, it has made me appreciate the opportunities that others get, and it's just provided me with such a value.
Hmm.
It makes me feel good,
Hmm.
and that's awesome because I'm teaching my kids that. You know,
Hmm.
that Lauren was like, "Palmetto's on Chris's boat," and I was like, "Yes," and she's like, "Well, I want to be on that boat too." I'm like, "I
Hmm.
know." I was like, but it's amazing. Even as the viewer, it's just amazing.
But I think something you'll see when I do the videos from this trip is that you'll see different perspectives from the same area.
Mhm.
So, like, Chris has his filming style, right? And he has it from one perspective that he always films, and because, he's the one filming. So I think it'll be interesting to see a different perspective through my camera and my editing style, um, music selection, so be whatever it be,
Mhm.
and then to see a different angle. Um,
And in
I
your
think
voice.
it'll it'll be a
Yeah.
different perspective of something that you've seen for a long time. And I think that's always interesting because, when you're so used to fishing your spot or your waters, you kind of, not that he does, but you can neglect something that's very powerful to somebody else or very interesting to somebody else. Um, or maybe you it was interesting and you've already filmed it 100 times, but to someone else it's all brand new. So it's all brand new to me, and
Yep.
so you'll see that perspective from my eyes. And I think, that's really why I want to make the video. It's going to be two videos, y'all. It's going to be the Muddy River Boot Camp, which was the first day, and then it's going to be a day on Elephant Butte, which, you saw some of that live, but you didn't see the different camera angles and everything. So I think it'll still be worth a watch. So, those of you listening to podcasts, we thank you for listening, and please go check out the YouTube channel Palmetto Cats on YouTube, and Mike Murillo has changed the name to his channel to Murillo's Family Fishing. So go check that out. Him and Lauren and Leia and his brother and his aunt and his dad and uh, Mexicat sometimes. You'll see them all on there fishing, a lot of live stream fishing, and some uh, angler interviews with
Yes,
Lauren.
yes,
So,
we need to get back into that. I've
so
had requests.
go check out Murillo's Family Fishing on YouTube as well. Quality family content from both, family friendly. You don't have to worry about expletives or inappropriate content. It's all going to be G or PG rated. No 13s in there. So it's going to be safe for you to watch with your family, both of our channels, and it's going to be safe if your kids just want to watch it by themselves. So you can always have that confidence when watching our channels. Um, that being said, Mike, any last words?
I
He's a man of many words, y'all.
I'm just ready for the next thing. I'm ready
Yeah.
to go fish the next pond or lake or dock or whatever it may be. I'm ready to talk about the next
Mhm.
topic. It's
Awesome. Well,
it's
I
it's
have an
strange to be
idea.
so reserved and
Yeah.
calm, but yet I'm just ready for that next thing. So
Gotcha. Well, we have some ideas that we're brewing up, and we just thank. We got Tom in the chat. Thank you, Tom, for being here. And if you ever have any requests for ideas or chat topics, send me an email, palmettocats@gmail.com. Find me on Facebook, or just leave a comment on one of my videos on YouTube. I read all the comments and I respond to most of them. That's the luxury I have right now, being that I'm a smaller channel. So get in while you can. But let us know what you want. We'd like to have some feedback and what topics you'd like us to talk about. That being said, I'm going to pray and we're going to get out of here. Heavenly Father, thank you again for another awesome show. Thank you for these experiences that we get to have. I appreciate them, and I know that you have everything to do with them. I thank you for our audience listening on the podcast and here live. I thank you for Mike and his friendship and what he brings to the table for this program. I just give you all the glory and honor for all things. It's in your name we pray. Amen.
amen.
All right, everybody. Until next time. Happy